Chris, what's up, man?
Good to see you, dude. Thanks for doing this interview with me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Always good to connect with this guy. I wish we could connect more, but
yeah, we can make it happen for sure. We just grabbed coffee right before this, and now we're hanging out in a cool room at your complex that you live at over here in Houston. So, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and Conor Watkins is here with me today. We've actually done a previous episode, if you listened to that one, probably about 8 months ago, you said?
8 months ago.
Yeah, so Conor, go ahead and introduce yourself for our audience, for anyone who's listening to the podcast for the first time.
Yeah, so my name's Conor Watkins. I've been in real estate for, almost 4 years now, actually. Since I was 18. I'll actually turn 22 here in about 2 weeks. And, our last podcast I did with Chris 8 months ago, I was getting started with my investing career, real estate investing. That's pretty much what I'm doing full time now. Previously, if you guys don't know me, I used to lease luxury apartments, kind of similar to what we're in right now. Did that for two or three years, and I saw a door open, or I saw an opportunity to get into investing. Because me and my friends, we had saved up some cash, and we're like, let's see what this flipping houses thing is about, right? So I took that leap, 8 months ago. Actually done about 2 or 3 flips now, not including some wholesale deals as well. But last time we spoke, I believe I just bought one of my first flips in Tomball. And I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the downfalls I've had, with flipping, because there's ups and downs to every business, right? In my instance, there was more downs than ups, but at the end of the day, it was a learning experience. So hopefully, you guys can take this knowledge and apply it to whatever you're doing, not just real estate, right? Because it really is a mental game, no matter what you do, and how to overcome those challenges. So
I think I really appreciated when we were talking, before we came out here, how Conor's learned so much from apartment locating, so he's had the confidence built up from becoming successful at that craft, and then having that confidence to move into something new, knowing that, hey, I've done it before in this other area, I can do it again. Even though there may be a little bit of doubt, self-doubt or concern, because it is a new endeavor you're pursuing, I really appreciated that, that you're going into this thing full force and that you're willing to share the wins and the losses that a lot of people don't see. So,
right.
Like you said, you bought your first flip 8 months ago. We're actually recording this for the second time. My computer kind of crashed on me. So we talked about a lot of these details. We're going to cover it again for you guys here on the podcast today. But before the first episode disappeared into the abyss of my computer, you said that you were 80% of the way done with your flip in 4 weeks, so everything was looking great. And then what happened?
Yeah, so 4 weeks into my flip, we're just really putting the final touches on it, and I get a call one day from a city inspector who, received a complaint or something, I guess, of that nature. And he said, hey, he called me, I think this was about 6 months ago, he called me and said, I don't know what you guys are doing to this house, but, we've had some neighbors complain. We see this big dumpster in the driveway. Do you mind if I take a look and see what's going on? I said, sure, because I was trying to cooperate with the city. I wasn't trying to get on bad terms with anyone. And, he goes into the house, and my contractors were actually there at the property. City inspector calls me back and says, hey, I saw some exposed live wiring in the attic, and I noticed you don't have any electrical permits, which, we didn't pull any permits on the job. Most investors don't pull permits in general. They typically, want to avoid the city at all costs. I guess, by the book, you're supposed to pull permits, right?
First time flip.
First time
kind
flip.
Of learning as you go.
I was lacking some knowledge in, that area. And anyways, the city basically said, we're red tagging your door. If we see any contractors at your property, I'm going to charge you $2,000 a head for every unlicensed contractor coming in. They said we're going to need permits, engineering blueprints, and electrical plans, all stamped from an engineer before you can even pull the permits, right? So I immediately realized, I was like, okay, I used most of my rehab budget, right? So, the quote from the contractor said it was going to be $40,000 to fix the property. I think I might have spent like $33,000 or $35,000 at that current point, right? So I had to take on all these added costs, such as hiring the engineer, and not only a cost, but it took months, for an engineer to actually draw up the plans, because they have work schedules of their own, and you're trying to meet deadlines and stuff like that. So I was having to pay all these things out of pocket for I had to hire new contractors, new electricians, new plumbers, licensed plumbers and electricians. So to not only fix the work that I previously did on the house, it was the delays as well that really costed me. The city came into the house and basically said,
Stop work.
We need to do this properly in order, to move forward. And it just wasn't a pleasant experience from that point. I quickly started spending tons of money on. Right, I probably spent like $5,000 on the engineer, or close to $3,000 to $5,000 on the engineer. I had a hire electrician. I probably spent about $5,000 on new wiring, and just to make, because generally, when a city inspector's job is to ensure that the house is up to code with the current requirements that the city has. Like there's a certain electrical code, there's a certain plumbing code, and obviously the house is older, built in the 70s, and nothing was up to code. So we had to repair all those things that they did not approve, the city did not approve. And we can't sell a house half finished. I probably could have just sold it regardless, but I wasn't trying to go behind their back or anything like that either.
You wanted to do it right. Yeah.
So I think what turned out to be a $40,000 rehab ended up being like an $85,000 rehab. Cross my fingers, hopefully I break even on this deal. I bought it.
You bought it right. It just had
right.
more issues and things come up than anticipated.
Correct.
Which is how life is sometimes. We have an idea of how something's going to go, and it just goes completely the opposite way sometimes. And I love how positive you remain through that, because you're not here complaining about all the things that you're talking about, the things that went wrong, but very objectively, like third person almost, where you're not letting the emotional side come out and complaining about, because this is your personal money that's in the deal.
Right. And
so it's easy to get kind of frustrated and lose your cool, especially when that kind of money is on the line on your first flip.
Yeah, that was one of my first flips. Move forward. Now I'm 8 months into the job, and I just calculated how much money I had into it, and because I really didn't know. I mean, I was just
hard to keep track of all the stuff.
We're spending all kinds of money. It's an emotional toll when you're 6 months behind on a project, and things that were out of my control. I was handling every objection that the city gave me, and I was trying to do it on a timely manner, but they weren't being very cooperative either. The inspector failed my electrical inspection 4 times, and I had to call the electrician.
You kept doing the whatever they said, and then they kept failing it again.
Right, because every time they would come into the house, they would see more issues with the house, right? Like, my electrician, he would go out there, he would fix the issues, and then the city would put a sticker on the window saying it failed because of these reasons, right? So then he would go out there, fix them again, and I'm not paying this guy any extra to do these things. So imagine the pressure on the electrician, imagine the pressure on me, knowing that, these things are not getting done.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a bad electrician. It's just that they were kind of being nitpicky on every little thing that, occurred.
Right. And so I guess that makes sense when you say a lot of investors don't really like to bring the city into the picture for those reasons, most likely. So after the city continued to fail your inspector and you started to struggle through this and realize that, hey, this is going to be a longer flip than we anticipated, what's your key learning from the experience you're going through right now? I know you're staying positive throughout, which is really incredible, and you need to stay level-headed. But what would you say your biggest learning and takeaway was from this?
Yeah, I would
experience?
say, you can only control so many certain things. There's a lot of unseen things that might come up, whether you're working on a project or, you're just working at a job. Like, there's things that come up that are unexpected, unplanned. And like I was telling you earlier, I feel like a lot of newer investors, if they would have took on this job and they would have been through the same situation I was, a lot of them would be filing bankruptcy and probably get foreclosed on these houses because, it took a really big hit.
You had to reach into business lines of credit too, you were saying, right?
Yeah, and thankfully I had several business lines of credit I can consolidate some of the debt onto, rather than spending all my cash on this one job. But $40,000 over budget, most people don't even have that liquid. So thankful for that, and really it was a learning experience. I kept my head up the whole way. Obviously, y'all, this is probably all new information for you guys because when I post on social media, it's usually all positive things. I really don't have anything bad to say, but that's just who I am. I'm not trying to cover up all the losses or anything, but I'm also trying to
put forth the positive stuff, right?
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
similar because I'll get vulnerable on the podcast and talk about bad investments or mistakes I've made or how I feel, even when I'm not feeling that great. But at the same time, I don't post man, today was so hard. I could have had the worst day ever, but I'm going to post something positive and maybe spin it and say how to overcome depression or overcome loneliness or things like that.
Right.
So I totally get where you're coming from of you don't mind sharing it, but you're not just going to post about it and make a whiny status about it on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people, I don't think you are either, who, tries to sound like a victim or this happened to me.
Oh, woe is me, right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I've always made, and being so young in the business too, a lot of people, they'll take advantage of the vulnerability you are as a person. If you only see the good in people and you only see positive things, people will sometimes take advantage of that, whether my contractors,
right.
They say, oh, this guy's only 21 years old, maybe we can take advantage of him, or I don't know what they're thinking, right? You never know, but yeah, all those pitfalls and everything, you can't be, I can't blame my contractors, I can't blame the city, for doing their job or anything like that. I can't blame my lender, for racking up all these interest charges or nothing. It's just, it
part
is
of
what
the
it is.
game.
It's
Yeah.
part of the game. And, we're talking about breaking bridges with people and stuff. A lot of people, when they go through an experience like this, they tend to take it out on other people, or, they might start to feel a certain way about somebody, but it's really the only person I can blame is myself.
That's the thing that I haven't read the book yet, but I love the title. Jocko Willink has that book, Extreme Ownership, and even Gary Vee talks about it. Everything's your fault, even if it's not. Just take ownership and take responsibility, because only then do you have the power to change it. And we talked about that earlier too. There's some things that you can't change. It's just, it is what it is. The city coming up to you guys, that's something that they're gonna do. You gotta do what you can to change whatever you can, and then you have to handle the other punches that get thrown your way as they come. Because if you're sitting back and you're trying to learn everything before you get into it, you're never gonna do anything. So I love how you just jumped into it and you figure things out one step at a time.
Right. I've been super thankful. I've had friends support me, good friend Keith, he started investing around the same time I did, and now he's flipping 4 houses at once right now, killing the game, and he sees everything that I've been through and going through these past 4 months. He's been really, really helpful with making sure we're getting this done. And I'm about to list the house this week, the one I've been having issues on. So
it's almost like coming to home base or whatever, right?
Right, the home stretch, and he's out there killing it right now. Flipping 4 houses at once. I feel like a lot of people would be really, really like envious of that. Especially in my situation. But it's like,
right,
I don't hold grudges over people, or I don't like drag my problems onto other people. I respect him, he respects me. Like I'm super proud of the guy. Like I want to see friends kill it.
I love that. And I remember you had a post on Facebook and you had the hashtag everybody eats, because that's true. Like when everyone's winning, everybody eats, everyone can feast and like share, pitch in on meals and travel and vacation and things like that, versus having the scarcity mindset of like, oh man, that guy's doing better than me, like, and getting envious. And it's like a healthy competition. Obviously you're like, man, he's doing 4 well, and I've got this one that's like tying me up. You probably want to get better so you can be like, hey, doing 4 or more. But at the same time, you're happy for him. Like, I'm genuinely happy when I see friends winning. Even if I'm sometimes a little bit envious, I'm like, man, they seem to have gotten there faster than me. They didn't struggle as much. But at the same time, I'm happy for them. And it just motivates me to continue to show up and to work towards those same goals.
I agree, 100%. Yeah. So, I took this flip as a learning experience, and hopefully, you guys are able to learn from this as well. Like, don't get too greedy out there. Don't take things for granted. You never know what might come up or what might, be the next move. But yeah, I would say, like, you're asking me, moving forward, what's my next move? And really, it's just to bounce back. Like make up for I feel like I lost out on 8 months of potential growth. And I'm able to admit to my mistakes, and not really mistakes, but learning experiences and
challenges,
and immediately bounce back. I'm looking forward in a way to where I can make real estate investing my full-time gig. I don't mind leasing apartments. I still have that skill set. I leased one last week. I can always.
So you got a good commission check on that, right? What was it, $3,600 or something?
Yeah, 3,700.
It's a good skill set. Whenever you need to make some money up here, poof.
Yeah. Like I can always fall back on the apartments. That's something I can always fall back on. But I think I'm at a point where I want to have my money working for me. I want to have more free time and essentially make smarter business decisions. Like I'm not trying to lease apartments till I'm 50 years old or nothing like that. Like, it's what got me to where I'm at now, but I'm always looking forward to what's next, what's the next thing. So hopefully I can get this under contract, this house under contract and listed ASAP, and maybe request higher business lines where I can I'm more lendable as well, and I can take on 2-3 projects at once, and I won't have any cash flow issues or any debt or anything like that. Moving forward, just keep your head up, no matter what you're going through out there. If you're working on a project, and it's really easy to put yourself in a dark place if something doesn't go your way, and it happens to everyone. So that's what I would say. That's my advice to the people out there is just keep hustling, keep your head up, and surround yourself with like-minded people who are going to be supportive, and
definitely,
it'll those connections will really take you the distance.
That's really good advice. So I love what you said there about just keeping a positive mindset and continuing to show up, because there are those dark places. I remember hearing a kind of funny entrepreneurial, like a motivational clip, and it says, like, whenever someone starts something new, they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. It's going to be great. You tell all your friends and family, you're excited. And then 3 months in, 4 months in, it's getting a little hard. It's getting a little challenging. You're starting to feel the pressure of spending more than you thought, time and money. And what you do from that point on determines like how successful you're going to be. Are you going to continue to push, continue to learn, grow, surround yourself with the positive people, or are you going to throw in the towel and just kind of go back to whatever you did before, like, you know, get a job? And I think on the first go around of recording this, you said, what was that quote that you said, the statistic?
Yeah, 97% of people are employed by the 3% who never quit.
I love that.
And I think that's very factual. You know, I look at the 3% as, you know, successful business owners or, you know, influential people who have overcome those challenges and, you know, never back down when something didn't go their way. Or, I mean, you look at any CEO of any company, I mean, you can't tell me it was a smooth ride the whole way.
Right.
I don't think it ever was. So you just can't quit. You just can't give up. Just keep going. Like, come this far. You know, I feel like I have nothing to lose really at this point. I've been through so much, like crazy. Yeah, in our last podcast, you know, we're talking about going through like big lawsuits and stuff. I'm still in that lawsuit today. Like, man, there's so much like emotional, you know, you can easily, you know, I even gained a lot of weight last year too. I just told you.
You've lost 25 pounds here in the last, what?
4 or 5 months, 25
That's amazing.
pounds.
Good job, man.
So, you
just
know,
winning all over in all areas of life.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you're doing well in one area, like, it pulls into other areas of your life.
Facts.
Like, if you're starting to feel better, read more, like, make self-improve, like, go to conferences, surround yourself with like-minded people, like, you're going to start doing better deals, making more money, like, it just, everything comes up in life.
Yeah.
And the vice versa, that's also true. If you start slipping on one area, you're not, you know, reading the self-development books, you're not getting around the right people, you can get into that dark place of just staying in your bed all day and being depressed at how things aren't working out. And then, of course, you can gain weight and all those things that happen.
Yeah.
So it's important.
There's victims and then victors.
Yes.
You choose.
You
It's your choice.
choose. Which one are you going to be? I love that.
So that's always been my mentality. Only hanging around those type of people is going to keep me in that mentality. And yeah, don't hang out with quitters. Hang out with winners. You know, wins and losses.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Because I had the friends, and I've been around the victim-minded people who just put the blame on everything. It can clearly be their fault for why something went a certain way, and they'll blame everybody around them. Like, they'll honestly, to their core, believe that it wasn't their fault or that somebody's out to get them.
Exactly.
And it's very poisonous, especially if it's in like a partnership or a relationship or even a company employee, like, you know, at your cubicle next to you. Like, if that is constantly in your ear, even if you try to push it away or drown it out, it's in your subconscious mind. You're like, maybe it is that person's fault. Maybe the world is out to get us, right? You can start thinking like that.
Definitely, yeah. I could have burned a lot of bridges with my first contractor. You know, for, you know, the work wasn't up to code with the city. I could have said, hey man, your work wasn't good. I'm not going to use you again. Like, I could have held grudges against my engineer for taking a month to, you know, send me the plans. I could have held grudges on my lender for charging me 2 extensions or whatever. Like, I mean, I could have held grudges on everybody, but at the end of the day, like, I can only blame myself, you know. I mean, and it's not worth burning bridges. You know, especially the connections you've made, and you never know, you know, who their mutual friend might be, you know, so it's just not worth holding grudges or burning bridges over.
Yeah, and just taking ownership of everything. There's that book Jocko Willink has, Extreme Ownership, and then Gary Vee talks about it too. Just everything's your fault. Just make sure that you're always taking ownership of everything, because when you do, you take the power to actually change it. When the people have victim mindset and they say everything's everyone else's fault, there are things in life that we can't control, like the city of Houston coming to do the permit stuff to you. Like, it was out of your control. The neighbors complained. You don't even know who did it. It happened, and you had to figure out how to handle it. But if you think that everything's your fault all the time, or everything is other people's fault, you'll never be able to take control of the situation. So we talked about this when we got coffee earlier. You've got to control the things that you can, and the things that you can't, you got to roll with the punches, like the saying goes. You got to handle them as they come up.
I agree.
And you do that as best you can. And of course, for the next flip, you're going to know what questions to ask that you might not have asked this time. I have the same thing where I have issues in my real estate transactions. Now that I'm a pretty new real estate agent, where it's a pretty simple fix and it could have been avoided, and like to an experienced agent, a certain problem might have been like common sense to ask a question, but it wasn't so common to me because I hadn't been there. But now that I've had the issue that's killed the deal, on the next deal I know, hey, I gotta ask this question: did you do this thing on time? Has the appraisal been ordered? To make sure no surprises come up that we weren't aware of at the last minute.
Yeah, that's another great analogy. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter what business you're in or what field, you're always going to have to overcome some challenges. I mean, especially as an entrepreneur, if you're
that's your job is solving problems. Like, that's what you get paid to do.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not making enough money, you're probably not helping enough people. You know?
Exactly. I think I mentioned that in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago or something, where you get paid in proportion to the problems you solve. So if you solve a small problem like flipping a burger, you get small dollars for that. If you solve a big problem like helping homeowners to, escape foreclosure or dodge foreclosure, and the realtors win, you pay commissions out, you guys get a great property off market. So you were talking me through a few of those examples where you saved some lady from getting foreclosed on, even though I think she had already filed bankruptcy or something. That was an interesting deal we talked about.
Yeah, I'm actually expected to close on that one next month.
There we go. And you're solving a big problem.
Big problem, yeah. That's another reason why I like what I'm doing with the investing is I'm not only helping families like get out of a current struggle or situation, but I'm improving the community. After I fix the house, I'm also improving the community. And if I can make money at the same time, like,
everybody wins, everybody eats.
Everybody eats.
Hashtag everybody eats. I love that.
Yeah, like the one we're gonna close on next month, or scheduled to close. The lady was behind on payments on her house. She was heading towards foreclosure. We're able to make her cash offer, and we opened title, and come to find out, she filed bankruptcy, and she was concerned, if she wasn't going to get all the money at closing, so we kind of had to push it back. It's not that, we weren't mad at her that she didn't tell us. I mean, that's a really personal problem, right? That most people would be afraid to talk about. But, it's just the nature of the business that we're in, like you
gotta have some hard conversations, and
there's things you can't see.
Yeah. With the house or with the seller situation, you're kind of like a detective uncovering new facts and things about the scenario, right?
Definitely, yeah. Like, it's funny, like you're touring clients, and I hear some of your objections, and you have to show 20, 30 homes to people before they can even sign. Like,
that's for people who want to like rent a house. I'm like, y'all aren't even buying. Why want to see so many houses?
Yeah.
Each person's a little different, right? People have different needs and desires, and coming up with the right scripts and handling objections properly will help mitigate some of those risks and challenges, right? So maybe I can get a little better at my scripts to make sure that people don't want to see 20 houses, and that they know that that's kind of excessive.
Right.
Cool. So what's next? More flips?
More flips, yeah. Basically, these last 8 months, take all the resources, connections that I've made. I've developed some really close relationships with some realtors who, they send me pocket deals.
It's the best place to be. You get those off-market properties first.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to be patient, continue to buy right, make sure the numbers make sense, do as much, due diligence as possible, and just make smarter business decisions, and, maybe find more contracting crews that are more reliable, that do better work, maybe, reach out to people who, had similar experiences, or maybe take advice, There's, the people that I've met, you really can't put a price on the connection,
right?
And the experience that they have as well. Like, very valuable stuff. So I'm going to take everything I've learned and just keep pushing, keep moving forward. Hopefully buy 2 or 3 houses at once eventually. Like my friend Keith, and hopefully hopefully it's just the beginning stages of my investing career that I had an issue with, and I can move past that and continue to invest full time, because that's always been a goal of mine.
When I interviewed Dan Locke on my podcast, that was kind of cool. He's got over 1 million followers and stuff on YouTube and Instagram, but he was basically saying that people think the more wealthy you get, the less problems you have, and he said that's not true. You have bigger problems, so you'll always have problems, even when you do your first apartment complex rehab deal or whatever, new build construction, or even I think there's like a high-rise being built next to that could be your project. You'll probably run into snags, you'll probably have issues with the city, permitting things, but now for a commercial building, and so your problems just get bigger, but of course you get paid in proportion to the problems, so you want to have big problems because that means that when you solve those, there's going to be a nice paycheck at the end of that, or commission check, or profit, or even if you're helping people too, that's awesome. So I think we're both going to be doing really well here in Houston. Not I know we will. And we're going to definitely keep each other accountable to these big goals that we're setting for ourselves.
Definitely. I have no doubts, man. I hope to connect, with more people like-minded, like Chris and myself, and my Instagram, it's the Wolf of All Estates. Feel free to follow me.
I'll add the link in the show notes. Wolf of All Estates.
The Wolf of All Estates, yeah. And shoot me a DM. I love to connect with anyone. Doesn't matter what field you're in. The more connections, the better. It doesn't hurt to have a 30-minute conversation over coffee.
Yep.
You never know what that person might bring to the table, what value they can provide, and
absolutely,
you just never know. So. Appreciate you, Chris.
Yes, thank you so much, Connor, for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure connecting, and we got to definitely connect more often, because I can't believe it's almost been 8 months since we last hung out with Ben. So, we've seen each other at events here and there, but to actually sit down and connect and catch up, that's 30 minutes in person just beats 2 likes on Facebook status or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll definitely connect again soon. And thanks again, Connor. Everyone make sure to go follow him, the Wolf of All Estates, on Instagram, and keep an eye out for whatever's coming in Houston next, because we're going to be buying up commercial blocks eventually.
Yeah.
Developing the city.
Gas stations too.
Oh yeah, gas stations, buying up land. We can look from this view here. You can't really see on camera, but we can see super far in Houston. There's a lot of land, a lot of houses that are waiting to be acquired and flipped and rented out, and all kinds of things. There's just opportunities. It's a world of opportunities.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Connor.
All right.